What's a story you've always wanted to share here but no one ever asked the right question? When I lost my virginity, the moment I took my shirt off, the first thing she said was, "Damn, you need to hit the weights." Edit. Thank you for my first gold, kind stranger. When I was a child, my mom took me to 7-Eleven. I was waiting outside for her. This man was sitting down against the front of the building. He said, "Hey kid. Want to see something cool?" Of course I replied with a, "Yeah, kids always wanted to see cool stuff." So the guy pulled his pant leg up to show me his amputated leg. I immediately burst into tears. My dad has an amputated leg and we were at the hospital for an appointment. This adorable little girl comes up to us with her mother and says to my father, "Is the doctor giving you your leg back today?" We burst out laughing. Her mother looked mortified. We assured her it was fine. "Is the doctor giving you your leg back today?" I mean, depending on the age of that girl, that was really sweet. I once ordered 2 plastic earring holders off of a Chinese seller on eBay. They were like $2 each plus a few bucks of shipping, no big deal. A couple weeks later, they were delivered. There was a square-shaped package that held my holders, packed with styrofoam, all fine and dandy, and like 8 other packages that came with it, all with the same shipping information, from the same person, company. I didn't know what to do with them. I certainly didn't order them, but curiosity got the best of me, so I opened them. Turned out to be about 15 burlap pillow covers with various pictures on them: skulls, flowers, Marilyn Monroe, Rolling Stones lips, Totoro, deer, a lot of variety, a couple duplicates. I was like, WTF are these? I wasn't sure what to do with them, thought maybe I'd just sit on them for a few days before I went about contacting the seller and possibly shipping them back. And then 2 days later, more packages arrive. This time around, there are 5 or 6 packages of pillow covers, as well as 2 random costume masks. Now I'm double-teefing pretty hard. I've got like 30 pillow covers, thinking like, did they mess up an order? Am I receiving all these pillow covers someone else ordered? Except they don't even sell these on their eBay. WTF is going on? I contact the seller, send them pictures, they're confused as hell too and don't have any idea where they came from, but they never ask me to send them back. I ended up selling them on Facebook for $5 each. Made like $130. My grandfather has this mysterious scar on the top of his arm. He knew my grandmother growing up and she said he didn't have it when he went into the army but had it when he returned. I grew up bothering him, begging to know how he got the scar. The rest of the family liked to make up stories of what could have caused the scar. He got bit by a shark while surfing, he got into a bar fight and was stabbed, he was attacked by a bear, etc. About 10 years ago I was on him about it again, asking him to at least tell us in his will. He got incredibly upset and blurted out, "Her husband unexpectedly came home and I didn't realize the glass sliding door was closed." Edit. Holy moly, did this blow up. Sorry for the confusion and lack of clarity. I guess that's what happens when you answer Reddit questions at 1 a.m. My grandfather knew my grandmother when they were young, long before they were married. She was 13 when he left to go into the army and he was 18. He left without the scar and when he returned 4 years later, he suddenly had this large scar he refused to talk about. They were married shortly after he returned in the late 1950s. As I understood, the implication was that while he was away in the army he was spending time with a lady friend and was unaware that her husband would be coming home. When he did come home, instead of getting caught he leapt through what he thought was an open glass window or door, shattering the glass. I'm not entirely sure if he knew there was a husband or if that tidbit was also a surprise to him. He only ever said the one sentence and has refused to talk about it ever since. I've always wondered how the lady friend explained the broken glass noise and shards to her husband. I woke up in the middle of the night to see a guy getting arrested in my backyard. I had an exam the next morning so I closed my window and went back to sleep. The times you're just not dealing with it. Once I heard crazy psycho laughter outside my house at night. I live in the woods with only seasonal neighbors, nobody around for screaming distance. I was just not in the mood. I opened the window and screamed, "Shut up," and went to bed. Meanwhile I'll get all spooked reading a "What Paranormal Happened You?" on AskReddit. I was driving down the highway with no other cars around at the time and the window on my driver's side door imploded, spraying my ear with glass. Pulled over and a perfect circle was missing out of the window. A passing car caused the rest of the glass to fall out before I got a picture. Sent me to the ER for a few stitches. No clue what happened. Maybe the lawn mower in the median kicked up a rock? This happened to me at a stop sign a few years ago. I turned my head to the right to look for cars, and there was a loud noise. I see a hole in my window and all the glass was cracked, and a moment later it all came crashing down. Sometimes I still find little pieces of glass when I clean the driver's seat. Maybe you had your laser vision activated by mistake? When I was 16 I had my first real job at a grocery market. I was outside getting carts but then heard a disturbance towards the back of the store. It was turning night out, and I wasn't thinking and just ran toward the cluster of people like an idiot screaming, "What's going on?" Turns out a group of teenagers were beating up a homeless man. They got spooked and ran, and when I came by him he was so bloody I didn't know what I was looking at. My boss came out just at that moment and told me it's time to go home. I didn't realize I lost track of time. I forgot about it, but almost 2 months later he came in and I didn't recognize him. First time I saw him I couldn't see his blood-drenched face. He recognized me though and kept saying, "Angel," because they beat him so bad they broke his jaw and had to wire it shut. Edit. It's pretty cool thinking a 16-year-old Asian girl could spook like 6 devious fucks beating a homeless man up with the intent to kill him. Thanks guys for your kind words. Wherever he is I wish him the best. Edit. Woe gold and silver. My first ever. Thank you all. I had a roommate in college and maybe a year after parting ways she murdered someone. I found out through a mutual former roommate. Before that, she had always tried to look out for me and was good to me. She was the crazy big sister I never actually needed. Edit. Holy crap you guys. It's as if not everyone has a crazy murderous ex-roommate. This is a tiny article one found. It's early in the morning for me, sorry. Edit. Had a slip of coffee, this one is a bit better. I work on tugboats and one day I saw a hiking boot floating upside down in the water. We had time to kill so I grabbed the boat hook and started raising the boot out of the water. It was ridiculously heavy, but I thought to myself that it was just waterlogged. As the boot came out of the water I started seeing a sock, and then a bone. I dropped it back into the water, started thinking, what did I just see? Ended up calling the Coast Guard and they asked us to hold onto it until they can get a boat out to us and retrieve the boot. Ended up having this lower leg boot on my boat for a good 30 minutes as if it were NBD. I have a pic somewhere. Edit. Found the pic, NSFW. Was this between 2012-ish 2014-ish in San Fran? I ask because I'm in the Coast Guard and a few years back a good friend of mine transferred to one of the 2 Coast Guard stations there. They texted me one day and told me about a tugboat that had just found a hiking boot with the lower legs still inside of it and they had to pick it up and drop it off for local law enforcement. Sorta curious if this is the same case. Yes, it is in the SF Bay. And yeah, it was either 2013 or 2014. R2 Red deters 1 cup. When I was in the 4th grade my teacher made all the students make a poster about conservation. Naturally, I went to the library, typed in conservation and picked a random topic to match the theme. That just so happened to be surface mining or strip mining. I worked on the poster for a couple of days and when I finished I thought, wow, I did a great job on this poster. I went downstairs to show my parents my awesome conservation poster about how surface mining was bad for the environment and how it needs to stop. Instead of praise, which was what I was expecting, I received silence from my mother and the most angry glare I have ever seen from my father. He blows up yelling about how surface mining isn't bad and how could I make a poster like that. Turns out my dad was a surface miner and I didn't know it. Yikes. A bird died mid-flight and its dead body hit me in the head. I was 16 years old and on a trip to Spain with a professor and some classmates. We were at a popular cathedral and I saw this dude who looked exactly how I would picture Jesus. Of course I lean to my friends and tell them about it. A few minutes go by and I forgot about him, but then he snuck up to me, whispers the "I heard the Jesus thing" and slips me a business card that just says Jesus on it. Edit. I expected this to get buried, so thanks kind stranger. This was back in 2012, but I will look around for the card. I quit a bank job once by cleaning out my office the night before. I left the keys on the desk. I faxed my resignation to corporate the next day and started the new job at 8 a.m. It was a pretty crappy job and I stayed there too long, so it was fun making a bit of a splash as I left. I quit a job similarly, closed the place down, tacked my key to the corkboard, and added my name to a list of things we were out of. I once took someone's pen they used for their shopping list and added pens to the list. Edit. Wow. My first gold, and it's all thanks to stealing a pen. Thanks for the gold and the silver. One time when I was a kid we were having a school assembly and our class was presenting some artwork we made. It was my job to introduce the artwork, and all I had to do was say one sentence. I can't remember exactly what it was now, but something along the lines of, "This week our class drew pictures of insert book characters here." Apparently this was far too difficult for me, so when my teacher handed me the microphone, I froze and stared straight into the audience like a deer in headlights. Seeing I was struggling, my teacher leaned down next to me and asked me, "What are our pictures?" to try and prompt me to remember what I was supposed to say. But no, this wasn't enough for my dumbass apparently, because I thought it was my line and said, way too confidently, into the microphone, "What are our pictures?" And yes, I think about this when I can't sleep. Obligatory. Edit. My first gold. Thank you random stranger less than 3. A friend threw a small eraser at me and for some reason I opened my mouth and it went down my throat and I coughed it up. Edit. Why does everyone assume she was a guy? Same goes for me. This happened a few years ago while I was in college and working at the bookstore on campus. I had just come back to work from surgery on my right arm. I broke it while riding my bike to school. I know, it doesn't get much cooler than that. So my arm is in a sling and this person comes up wanting to know where he can find all of the Shakespeare books. I'm like, alright cool, they're over here. We walk over to the section and he looks at my arm and asks what happened. I told him I broke it and had surgery just recently. He asks if he can pray for my arm. In my mind I'm like, that's a weird question, but he'll go home and pray for my arm. Cool. Whatever. Nope. He grabs my left, non-broken, hand and starts praying. Loudly. Saying things like, "Dear Jesus, please let this arm be healed tomorrow," and other shit like that. He prays for several minutes out loud while holding my hand and I'm just standing there waiting for this to all be over. Also worth noting that he's probably 6 feet tall, and I'm about 5 feet 2 inches-ish. So the hand he's holding is like, in the air. He finishes his prayer and tells me, "I wouldn't be surprised if you feel completely healed by tomorrow morning." I'm all, dude, that's so neat that you think that, but I've got about 8 screws and 2 metal plates that are telling me differently. Also he didn't buy any of the Shakespeare books. Edit. Spelling. He was 6 feet and not 6 inches, although that does make the story more interesting. Thank you for the silver. My first ever. Edit 2. No, my arm was not healed the next day. The power of Christ was not all that compelling, I guess. I tried to kill myself by taking a ton of Benadryl, hallucinated Satan, passed out, went to church the next day, and puked blood the day after that. Hell yeah. Next time try to puke the blood in the church, then they will think you are Satan. How to get a free exorcism in 2 simple steps. Recently I gained a lot of faith in humanity. I'm driving home from a friend's house and notice someone ahead stopped in the middle of an intersection, hazards on. I see he's high school age and obviously stressed out, not sure what to do. So I drive through the intersection and pull into a parking lot to jog over and help. I mean, I've had this happen and it sucks. Especially when no one helps you. Anyway, by the time I get back to his car he's pushed it all of about 10 feet. To my shock, another 2 people show up at the exact same time and we all start helping this guy get his car into a parking lot so he could call his parents. Felt super awesome that 3 people came to this guy's help in less than 5 minutes. Edit. Wow guys, I'm glad so many of you liked my story. Thanks for popping my gold cherry, you kind stranger. I saved a toddler from drowning over the summer. That shit was nuts. Probably the craziest thing that's ever happened to me. Still haven't gotten over it and now I kinda freak out around water. Thanks for the gold, silver. For anyone wondering what happened, it was a freak incident of being in the right place at the right time. I was walking to my car in the driveway to grab something. Out of the corner of my eye I saw 2 toddlers on my neighbor's pool deck. I called out and asked if anyone was watching them, because at the angle I was standing, I couldn't see the entire deck. They were getting closer to the ladder. Then something in me snapped and I realized they were both in their clothes and not bathing suits. I blacked out. Don't even remember running over there. By the time I reached the pool edge, one of them was drowning right in the middle. Didn't even see her go in. I tried to jump over the edge and get a hold of her, but I couldn't reach. I started screaming bloody murder for my neighbor. Luckily she heard me and came out right away. She also started screaming. By this time the baby's mom ran out too. I finally managed to jump up high enough and grab her arm to pull her out. It was crazy. If I hadn't gone out to my car at that exact moment, she'd be dead. I was having heart palpitations for like 3 hours after. The family did send me flowers, but it still haunts me. Me too. It was traumatizing. The family gave me a $50 gift card to an Italian restaurant for saving their child though. At least I got breadsticks. Now you just gotta lurk around the park and chuck kids in the lake when their parents aren't looking. Infinite breadsticks. Edit. Wow, my first sliver. Thanks a lot. Unethical life pro tips. When I was a child, I used to think the bad guys in movies shot into their ears to commit suicide rather than the temple. I always thought it was badass, and so I emptied the clip of my BB gun and shot myself in the ear. I cried for an hour and no one was home at the time. Thankfully my hearing wasn't permanently damaged. It astounds me that some kids live past the age of 10. In 5th grade they would take our class to a wilderness camp for an entire 7 days, and my best friend at the time and I decided to make a bet for fun. Whoever took a shit first lost. We were allowed to use the bathroom for piss breaks and showers obviously, but no shitting. Bus ride was almost 6 hours long and I was starving, so I stuffed myself with food on the first day and basically fasted the next couple days. By the 4th day I was done. He decided to keep going for shits and giggles. We had these really nice log cabins and the bathrooms were actually really clean. On the dawn of the 7th day he wakes me up and tells me that he is finally gonna use it. I was laughing my ass off at the thought of it. He comes out the bathroom about 10 minutes later and tells me to look inside. His shit was literally so long that it nearly stuck out the toilet and was dragging outside of the water. He actually could not physically flush it, so he left it there, and our counselor found it later that day and spent the entire day trying to find out which slob could possibly create that. No one found out. Edit. A lot of people have been asking me where this happened. I don't remember the name of the camp, but it is in Santa Cruz, California. Edit 2. I didn't rip this South Park, I don't even watch it. Shit is just universal. A lot of people in the replies have equally hilarious similar stories. Poop knife material. Edit. My first gold and silver and new high score on Reddit all at once, and it's a poop knife reference. Amazing. I once threw a half-eaten Hot Pocket and knocked a squirrel out of a tree. Edit. I'm glad this story brought laughter to a lot of you. It is definitely one of my proudest moments that I don't get to bring up very often. And don't worry, the squirrel was okay. He fell out of the tree and continued to chatter at me for the rest of the summer. Reminds me of the time I caught a chipmunk eating my lunch and I was so angry that without thinking I just grabbed him with my bare hand. We both were so surprised that it actually happened that we didn't really know what to do. My old dog used to try chase our ferrets. She once grabbed one off the table. Fuzzy was unharmed, so we kept them strictly separated. One day a Fuzzy escaped the ferret room. Ran at the dog. Hid under her legs. Dog had no idea what the fuck to do. Finally, a chance at revenge. The ferret told itself, charging from its confinement and into, well under, the belly of the beast. But alas, the beast had no balls to be chomped. Thanks for watching our video. If you like it, please smash the subscribe and like button to support the channel, so that we can create more quality content in the future.